Have you ever felt your body quietly shifting, changing in ways you can't quite explain, yet deeply sense? That inner strength you once carried with ease now seems to fade, not with sudden force, but gradually, like mist dissolving at sunrise. It's not just aging, there's more at play beneath the surface. What I'm about to share may gently challenge the beliefs you've held about growing older, about the loss of muscle and independence. And if you stay with me until the end of this reflection, you may come to see aging in a new light, one filled with possibility rather than decline. Many older adults, perhaps even you, are facing something often overlooked: sarcopenia, a slow, silent unraveling of strength. It doesn't shout, it whispers in every step that feels heavier, every jar lid that won't budge. And yet, what few speak of is this: sarcopenia is not destiny. For years, we've been taught that losing muscle is a normal part of aging. But deeper research, both ancient and modern, offers another perspective, one more hopeful. What if I told you the hours before sleep hold the key? That in this gentle window of restoration is most ready to receive, to rebuild, to renew. And that certain simple foods taken during this time could slow or even reverse the muscle weakening that quietly changes daily life. For 15 years, I've walked the path between Eastern and Western thought, learning from herbalists in remote mountains and scientists in urban labs. It is in the stillness between those two worlds that I discovered a new understanding of nighttime nourishment. It transformed how I guide my elder students. I remember one woman, Margaret. At 72, she arrived at my retreat center leaning heavily on a walker, her eyes dim with resignation. She believed her independence was lost, but something inside her still reached for change. 6 months after adopting the simple nightly practices I'll soon share, she called me, her voice trembling with emotion. That morning, she had walked 3 miles, without her walker, without assistance. "I feel like life has returned to me," she said, tears in her voice. "Tonight, I will speak of 4 humble foods, eaten before sleep. They help create the ideal inner conditions for your body to protect and restore its muscle tissue." This isn't about trendy diets or expensive supplements. It's about harmony. It's about aligning with the natural rhythm of your body, the cycle of rest, repair, and renewal that happens each night if we allow it. But before we talk about those foods, we need to untangle a deeper misunderstanding. We've long accepted the belief that muscle loss is simply tied to age, that after 50, we lose 1 to 2% of muscle each year, and after 70, the rate only quickens. It's a story often repeated and convenient for industries that profit from our weakness. But it doesn't tell the full truth. The reality is more complex and more human. What's really happening is a delicate interplay of shifting hormones, quiet inflammation, and most crucially, a disruption in how our bodies synthesize protein. This is the biological process by which we build and repair muscle. And as we age, this process becomes less efficient. By 65, that efficiency may decline by as much as 30%. That's not failure, it's simply change. And where there is awareness of change, there is space for choice. This is where renewal begins. But here is something few consider, and it is vital. The decline in your body's ability to rebuild muscle does not unfold evenly throughout the day. It reaches its lowest point at night, precisely when we assume rest brings healing. This realization changed everything. The well-meaning advice to just eat more protein overlooks one of the most essential aspects of human biology: timing. It's not only what you consume, but when and how your body is prepared to receive it. During sleep, your system enters its most powerful state of cellular renewal. Muscle fibers that were subtly stressed during the day are meant to be repaired now. But when the right nutrients are absent, the body cannot carry out its intended work. Instead of healing, there is quiet erosion, one night at a time, one missed opportunity at a time. I saw this again and again in my senior students. They were following every instruction, exercising with care, nourishing themselves thoughtfully, consuming sufficient protein, and yet their strength continued to fade as if slipping through unseen cracks. It was disheartening. Then, one study shifted my understanding. It came from Japan's National Institute of Longevity Sciences. Their research explored the body's capacity to preserve muscle during the night. What they found contradicted much of what modern fitness culture had long assumed. The body, in its deep rest, becomes a sacred site of repair. While your conscious mind dreams, billions of cells silently awaken. DNA is mended, waste is cleared, and tissue is rebuilt. But none of this happens in isolation. It requires tools, molecules, enzymes, and activators that initiate the body's own healing rituals. Without these tools present, the body opens its workshop each night but has nothing to work with. One hormone stands at the center of this process: human growth hormone. It reaches its peak during deep sleep. This is the body's master signal for recovery, especially for muscle. But like any master, it needs support. It cannot fulfill its purpose if the body lacks the materials it needs. And this is where ancient culture meets modern science. Some foods, when taken before sleep, create what researchers now call a muscle-preserving environment. This concept, simple yet powerful, explains why certain cultures, without supplements or laboratories, age with strength intact. In Okinawa, Japan, evening meals are rich with specific, balanced nutrients. By tradition, not by design, they support the body's nighttime restoration. The result? Elders who walk unaided into their 90s, carrying grocery baskets, tending gardens, smiling without strain. Strength is not a memory for them. It is a companion. I remember reading this and feeling skeptical. Could the solution be this ordinary? But as I sat with the question, I saw what had been hiding in plain sight. The systems profiting from physical decline, pharmaceuticals, mobility aids, treatment centers, have little reason to spotlight a quiet answer rooted in tradition and food. The global industry built around weakness is not small. It exceeds $50 billion each year. And yet, not a dollar is needed to understand the rhythm of your own body. My path to this understanding began many years ago at the Shaolin Temple. There, I studied under Master Wu. He was 92 and moved with the grace and strength of someone decades younger. When I asked him the secret to his resilience, he didn't mention rare herbs or brutal training. He simply smiled and said, "Know what your body needs before it asks." And in those words was a lifetime of wisdom. Instead of formulas or fads, he offered something simpler. Master Wu spoke of honoring the body's natural rhythm, especially in the hours when the world quiets and the body begins its silent work of repair. "The body rebuilds at night what it uses during the day," he said to me once, his voice slow and steady. "If you give it stones instead of bricks, how can it build a strong house?" That image stayed with me for years, and so began a journey, not through laboratories at first, but through monasteries, villages, and kitchens around the world. I wasn't looking for secrets. I was searching for patterns in the habits of those who aged not with fear, but with quiet strength. What I found wasn't a single diet or superfood. It was a shared understanding. Across Chinese medicine, Ayurveda, and Mediterranean tradition, elders consistently consumed certain combinations of foods before sleep. They weren't counting calories or following strict regimens. They were, without realizing it, feeding the body precisely what it needed to repair, not just to rest. Years later, working alongside researchers at the Longevity Institute in Copenhagen, I saw science begin to explain what tradition had practiced for centuries. Using advanced muscle biopsies and overnight metabolic analysis, we began to trace what happens when the body is given the right tools at the right time. We found that the rate of muscle protein synthesis, the body's ability to rebuild muscle tissue during sleep, increased by as much as 34% in participants who followed a carefully timed evening nutrition protocol. The foods weren't exotic, but the results were profound. Over 6 months, we saw not only increases in muscle mass, but in balance, gait, and independence. Participants who once feared frailty began moving with new confidence. They were aging not with decline, but with resilience. But one element proved more critical than the foods themselves: timing. Nutrition is not just about what enters the body, but when. The body follows rhythms older than language. Its deepest repair work begins during sleep, and the window for supporting that process is brief, 30 to 90 minutes before bed. Eat too early and the nutrients fade before your body enters deep sleep. Eat too late and digestion disrupts your rest. But timed properly, the food becomes more than sustenance. It becomes medicine. It aligns with the body's peak production of human growth hormone, the quiet architect of nighttime renewal. Imagine planting seeds just before the rain. The earth is ready. The water comes. Growth begins. The body is no different. When the nutrients are present at the right moment, the body accepts them fully, uses them deeply, and rebuilds what was strained or lost. This is not just theory. It is a practice I have witnessed in hundreds of individuals and in my own life. Now, with that foundation, we can begin to speak of the foods. The first may surprise you. It is casein protein, often misunderstood, sometimes avoided, yet unmatched in its purpose. Casein digests slowly. It delivers a steady stream of amino acids to the body over 6 to 8 hours, precisely during the time when muscle restoration is most active. It does not rush in and vanish like other proteins. It lingers. It supports. It builds. Found naturally in cottage cheese, Greek yogurt, and select supplements, casein becomes the first brick in the house your body tries to rebuild each night. It is not about chasing youth. It is about respecting the design of the body, one meal, one breath, one quiet evening at a time. What makes casein so valuable is not its speed, but its patience. Unlike fast-digesting proteins that flood the system and quickly fade, casein releases its nutrients slowly over the course of many hours. This is what makes it ideal during sleep, when the body isn't seeking a surge, but a steady presence, like the soft glow of a lantern that burns through the night. One study published in the Journal of Nutrition revealed something remarkable. 40 grams of casein consumed before bed increased muscle protein synthesis during sleep by 22% compared to a placebo. For older adults, that's not just a statistic, that's a meaningful difference, one that can be felt in the legs, in the back, in the simple ability to stand with ease. Over time, participants who adopted this simple practice showed noticeably less muscle loss than those who didn't. Regardless of whether they exercised, the body, when supported correctly, continues to renew itself, even in later years. Casein holds another secret: its high levels of leucine, a key amino acid. Leucine is the spark that ignites the muscle-building process, but as the body ages, it grows harder to light that fire. Where a young person might need only 1.7 grams of leucine to activate this repair, older adults often require 2.5 to 3 grams to achieve the same effect. A mindful serving of casein-rich foods, cottage cheese, Greek yogurt, or a well-chosen protein supplement provides just that. Not too much, not too little, just enough. One of my students, Robert, once ran marathons. But time and life humbled his body. He stayed active, but his strength was slipping away, especially in his legs. He told me that even the stairs in his own home had become a kind of mountain. I asked him not to train harder, but to rest wiser. He began eating a small portion of cottage cheese before bed. That was all. 3 months later, he came to me quietly and said, "The stairs don't scare me anymore." He smiled, not because he was faster, but because he felt capable again. He felt himself again. But strength is not only about muscle, it is also about what stands in its way. For many seniors, that barrier is silent, invisible. Chronic inflammation. Not the sharp swelling of injury, but the slow, persistent kind that dulls recovery and weakens repair. It exists beneath the surface, gently disrupting the body's natural healing rhythm. To address this, we turn to the second evening food, Wild tart cherries, or more specifically, their concentrated juice. These small fruits hold great power. Within their skin are anthocyanins, compounds that help reduce inflammatory markers and ease oxidative stress. A study in the Scandinavian Journal of Medicine and Science in Sports found that those who drank tart cherry juice before bed experienced significantly less muscle breakdown overnight than those who did not. This becomes even more important with age, as baseline inflammation naturally rises. Tart cherries help restore balance. They prepare the ground so that the seeds of strength can take root again. But their benefit doesn't end there. Tart cherries are also a natural source of melatonin, the hormone that governs our sleep cycles. Without deep sleep, even the best nutrition is wasted. It is in that still, dark place that the real rebuilding begins. In supporting both rest and recovery, these cherries offer more than flavor. They offer foundation. I saw this clearly while working with veterans. Many had trouble sleeping, many had lost strength, but through small, consistent steps, through nourishment at night, they began to rebuild not only their muscles, but also their peace. James had spent years seeking sleep through prescriptions, each one a temporary silence, but never a true rest. His strength, however, continued to fade. It wasn't until he began adding a small glass of tart cherry concentrate to his evening that something shifted. The sleep came gently, and with it, a sense of recovery. For the first time in years, he told me, I don't feel like I'm losing this fight with my body anymore. Not all healing is loud. Often it comes quietly, when we nourish the body at the right time with the right care. One such nourishment is magnesium, a mineral that plays a part in more than 300 vital functions inside the body. It supports everything from muscle contraction to nerve communication, from energy creation to protein synthesis. But despite its importance, it often goes unnoticed and unfulfilled. By the time we reach later stages of life, magnesium absorption is no longer as it once was. The gut has changed, stomach acid has lessened, and medications interfere. The result is a gap. The body needs more, yet receives less. This gap does not just leave us tired, it leaves us vulnerable. Muscle cramps begin to appear, strength fades more quickly, and what we once assumed was a part of aging may in fact be a quiet deficiency. Fortunately, nature is generous. Dark, leafy greens, especially spinach, are among the richest sources of magnesium. A single cup of steamed spinach offers nearly 40% of the daily requirement for older adults, in a form the body knows how to use, especially during sleep. And sleep is where magnesium's influence deepens. Magnesium gently activates the parasympathetic nervous system, the body's rest and repair mode. When this system is engaged, energy flows not toward worry or tension, but toward healing. Muscles are not just held together, they are renewed. It also helps regulate cortisol, the stress hormone. At night, if cortisol remains elevated, it can quietly sabotage the muscle rebuilding process. But with magnesium, this storm settles. A deeper stillness is restored. Martha, 78 years old, had been told her aching legs and failing grip were just signs of age. But when she added magnesium-rich foods to her evening meals, something unexpected happened. The cramps eased, her hands steadied, and over time, her strength returned. My doctor couldn't believe it, she said. He asked what I was taking. I told him it's just spinach. But our strength does not lie in muscle alone. The body's ability to move, to hold itself upright, to respond to the world, it depends on more than power. It depends on connection. This brings us to collagen, the most abundant protein in the body. It forms the scaffolding that supports our muscles, tendons, and ligaments. Without it, strength has no direction. Muscles may grow, but they lack the framework to apply that strength effectively. With age, our body produces less collagen, and so we must provide it through foods rich in collagen or its building blocks. Bone broth, slow-cooked meats, or collagen-rich supplements can offer the key amino acids glycine, proline, and hydroxyproline. These are not just nutrients, they are the materials of structure. At night, these amino acids assist in maintaining the tissue architecture, a term used by scientists to describe the integrity of the musculoskeletal system. During sleep, the body repairs this scaffolding so that muscles can function with stability. A study in the British Journal of Sports Medicine showed that those who consumed collagen peptides before bed preserved muscle function more effectively than those who took other proteins. Why? Because collagen supports not just muscle fibers, but the entire system around them. This is the way of true strength. It is built on structure, nourished in rest, and sustained by attention to the unseen. For older adults, building muscle is not about aesthetics. It is about movement, dignity, and the ability to navigate daily life without fear. Emily, 83, had quietly struggled for years. Getting up from low chairs required effort and often her arms. After adding bone broth to her evening routine, something changed. For the first time in years, she said, I stood up with just my legs. Her smile said more than the words. Strength had returned, but so had her confidence. This path is not paved by one solution, but by harmony. 4 gentle steps taken together create something greater than the sum of their parts. Slow release proteins feed the muscle steadily through the night. Tart cherries soothe inflammation and calm the body. Magnesium activates key repair enzymes. Collagen provides the framework upon which strength is built. This is not a cure, it is a rhythm, one that the body understands and embraces. When these elements come together, they nourish not just muscle fibers, but the entire system of movement. The architecture of function is preserved from multiple directions at once, and the practice itself is beautifully simple. About 1 hour before rest, a small bowl of cottage cheese or Greek yogurt provides the casein, protein that digests slowly and feeds muscles throughout the night. A quarter cup of tart cherry juice or a few tart cherries adds calming phytonutrients. A handful of steamed spinach offers magnesium, and a warm sip of bone broth brings the amino acids for collagen repair. The entire ritual takes minutes, but its effects unfold over hours, quietly, deeply, and consistently. This is no accident. The simplicity is by design. In the end, the health practices that endure are the ones that fit into ordinary life. No equipment, no complex schedules, just nourishment at the right time with the right intention. Over the years, I have walked this path with many elders. I've witnessed its quiet power. Their sleep deepens, their steps become steadier, and in their eyes, I see something priceless, the return of trust in their own body. But before this can happen, a certain myth must be set down. Many older adults avoid evening nourishment. They have been told over and over that eating before bed is harmful, causing poor sleep, indigestion, or weight gain. This belief, though widespread, is not always true. And in some cases, it causes harm, because the truth is not whether you eat before sleep, but what you eat. The 4 components of this evening practice do not disturb rest. On the contrary, they support it. The nutrients calm the nervous system, regulate blood sugar, and offer tryptophan, an amino acid that guides sleep cycles. In this way, the body is not disrupted by food, it is comforted by it. A study from the Netherlands Sleep Medicine Institute found that participants who consumed this type of anti-inflammatory, protein-rich nourishment in the evening actually slept better and longer. Compared to those who fasted before bed, they experienced deeper rest and better overnight recovery. This insight turns a familiar message on its head. Many seniors have been taught that avoiding food at night promotes health. Yet in truth, for those past a certain age, that very habit may accelerate the loss of strength, balance, and independence. Sometimes the wisdom that serves us early in life must evolve to meet our changing needs. For the aging body, nighttime becomes not just a time for sleep, but for healing. And for that, the body must not be empty, but gently supported. While the 4 components we've explored provide a strong foundation for nighttime muscle support, there is no single formula that fits all. Each body tells its own story, shaped by years of experience, habits, and health conditions. This is where mindful observation becomes not only helpful but essential. In my teachings, I invite each individual to begin a gentle practice of self-awareness. A simple journal used each night and morning becomes a tool for clarity. Record what you ate, when you ate it, and how you felt upon waking. Note any changes in energy, digestion, or ease of movement. Over time, patterns begin to emerge, not from theory, but from your body's own voice. This quiet form of tracking offers insights that no general guideline could ever match. Some may notice that smaller portions serve them better. Others may find that shifting the timing by half an hour improves comfort. Your body, when treated with patience and respect, responds with honesty. One student, Thomas, age 79, approached this process with the precision of a former professor. For 3 months, he observed closely. He found that 90 minutes before bedtime worked better than 60. He discovered that gently warming the cottage cheese made it easier to digest. These were small adjustments, yet they unlocked profound results. "It feels like I'm finally working with my body," he said to me one morning, "instead of waging war against it." Before I share the final insight that has helped many transform how they relate to aging itself, let us pause and address the reality of implementation. In guiding many older adults along this path, I've seen where the obstacles lie and how they can be gently moved aside. First, understand this: consistency is more powerful than perfection. Missing one evening will not undo your efforts, but making the practice part of your rhythm, like brushing your teeth or taking evening medicine, creates a steady current of support. Second, let quality be your guide. The foods you choose carry energy, not just calories. Organic dairy from grass-fed animals, dark greens without pesticide residues, tart cherries free from added sugars, and broth made from whole, honest ingredients, these matter. The body notices, it remembers, it responds. Third, be patient. Some changes, like deeper sleep, may appear within days, but the deeper transformation, greater strength, steadier movement, renewed confidence, this unfolds over time. Between the 3rd and 6th month, I've seen the most striking results. Quiet at first, and then unmistakable. Judith came to us with a quiet resignation. Weakness had become her norm. But 4 months into this practice, she smiled and said, "It's like watching a garden grow. You don't see it every day, but then suddenly the change is everywhere." And now, a deeper truth. This simple protocol is not just about food or strength, it's about rewriting a story we've been told about aging, a story that says decline is inevitable, that time only takes, that we must simply accept the fading. But this narrative is incomplete. The human body does not give up easily. It responds to care. It adapts to intention. It remembers how to heal if we provide the right conditions. This understanding has changed the lives of many of my students. It has the power to change yours. Because aging, when met with awareness and nourishment, does not have to be a slow retreat. It can become a deepening, a return to balance, stability, and quiet strength. And this is what I've seen in those who stay the course. They do not just preserve muscle, they reclaim something far more precious, a sense of partnership with their own body and with the life that still unfolds through it. It is true that some aspects of aging are progressive, yet much of what we call decline is not a result of time itself, but of how we live within that time. The body, even into advanced age, retains a quiet but powerful ability to renew itself. When we offer it the right conditions, rest, nourishment, care, it responds. Not just by surviving, but by restoring what many believe to be permanently lost. This is not a fantasy. It is a truth supported by the sciences of movement, mind, and nutrition. But even more profound than the research is the internal shift this knowledge allows. The realization that aging is not simply something that happens to us, but something we can consciously shape. This change in awareness becomes a turning point. It moves us from passive acceptance to active participation. I have witnessed this awakening in many of my older students, and the transformation it brings reaches far beyond physical change. When a person truly sees that their choices matter, that their body still listens and responds, they begin to carry themselves differently. There is new clarity in the way they plan their days. There is a return of dignity in how they see themselves. There is renewed courage to imagine a future not defined by limits. Robert, a former marathon runner, described it best during our 6-month gathering. Knowing I still influence how I age, it hasn't just changed my muscles, it's changed my mind. I no longer prepare for decline, I prepare for continued strength. That is the power of awareness. And it leads us to the final insight I wish to leave with you, an understanding deeper than nutrition or routine. The capacity of the human body to rebuild, to protect itself, to regain what was once thought lost does not vanish with age. It remains within us, waiting, but it asks something in return. It asks for presence, for care, for alignment with nature, especially during the quiet hours of the night. The 4 foods I've shared are not merely items on a grocery list. They are symbols of a new path forward. They remind us that we can meet the second half of life not with fear, but with intention. Each evening, when you consume casein protein for steady muscle repair, when you enjoy tart cherries to support rest, when you nourish with leafy greens rich in magnesium, when you sip warm broth that replenishes collagen, you are doing something quiet yet revolutionary. You are choosing to honor your body instead of surrendering to the story of inevitable decline. You are no longer passively aging, you are actively writing a new chapter. And in this new chapter, something beautiful happens. As the body begins to respond with improved sleep, greater strength, easier movement, confidence takes root. That confidence is not fleeting. It deepens with each step you take. With each evening, you remain consistent. Then, almost without realizing it, your energy begins to return. You move more, you engage more, you participate again in the full rhythm of life. This, I believe, is the real gift of this approach. Not just the preservation of strength, but the restoration of your relationship with life itself. In a world that often tells us what we've lost, you begin to see clearly and quietly what you still have, and more importantly, what you can still become.